Masquera say Zimbabwe, welcome to our channel Zim Confessions and Deep Secrets. Kana karike kutanga kukuya paneno channel, please don't forget to subscribe. Kana uchingo karoka subscriber, don't forget to comment and share this video. Nasmure Zimbabwe tafikirai nyaya yaburizwa na the Citizens Coalition for Change acting president Mnangagwa avabuda vachiataka nekukriticize President Mnangagwa's administration vachitaura ivo vachiti my economic and political challenges are faced by Zimbabwe akwanise kuaddresseka without solving the issue ye disputed elections. Vakabuda vachiaddressa the victory celebration for Cholocho Ward 1 Councillor Witness Kumalo, which accused Mnangagwa's government of being greedy. Vakataura ivo vachiti the late former President Mugabe's administration was better than President Emerson Mnangagwa. Yakaburizwa na Zimbabwe vachitaura ivo vachiti Citizens Coalition for Change acting president Mnangagwa has launched a scathing critique of President Emerson Mnangagwa's administration, claiming that Zimbabwe's economic and political challenges will not be resolved without addressing the issue of disputed elections. The Newsday has reported. Addressing victory celebrations for Cholocho Ward 1, Councillor Witness Kumalo, Mugabe accused Mnangagwa's government of being blatantly and selfishly greedy. He went a step further, suggesting that the late former President Robert Mugabe's administration was more respectful in its handling of the country's affairs. You participate in elections in 2000, then there is a dispute and the country keeps going down. You do the same thing for years over and the country keeps on dwindling, Mugabe said, while invoking the words of the late MDC leader Morgan Tsvangirai, who highlighted the futility of holding elections in an environment that was not conducive for polls. Tsvangirai used to say, if you see yourself doing the same thing and bearing the same results over and over again, in English, it is the very definition of insanity. This means you are mad, he added. Mugabe pointed to the country's economic woes, highlighting the instability of the Zimbabwean dollar. Among you who have ever laid eyes on this money called ZiG, if you have seen it before, what does it buy? He asked the crowd. I stay in both Harare and Bulawayo, but I've never seen the ZiG with my own eyes. The country's wealth keeps dwindling, and yet we are busy doing slogans, he said, referring to the government's rhetoric of a new dispensation. Second Republic, Third Republic, the country is built by its own people, but it is still the same and there is no change, he added. Mugabe questioned the country's trajectory, suggesting a bleak future if the current leadership remains in power. We should all ask ourselves whether we want to reach 2028, knowing very well that the same people are going to be at the top stealing and they go back using both police and soldiers' power, he said. When we reach 2028, you start talking about 2033, and in 2033, you start talking about 2038. Is that not total madness? He asked. Mugabe's criticism extended to the current administration's handling of economy, accusing it of arbitrarily destroying it. They are not even hiding it, they just flaunt it to your face. But you, as a Zimbabwean, are suffering from the same drought, poverty. There are no jobs, but where you work, what you earn does not even last you a week, he said. In contrast, Mugabe painted a picture of Mugabe's era as being more tolerable, despite the late former leader's well-documented authoritarian tendencies. Long back during Mugabe's era, they would take everything for themselves. We only discovered it now that he had 23 farms, and yet he used to say one man, one farm, and yet he had 23 of them, Mugabe said. He would steal using a fork and knife, but the leaders of today steal without even thinking of sharing a bit with others, he added. Mugabe These comments come at a time of growing discontent among Zimbabweans over the country's economic and political situation. The CCC, a relatively new party, has emerged as the strong opposition force challenging ZANU-PF's long-standing dominance. The CCC's victory in the Cholocho Ward 1 by-election is seen as a significant boost for the party, demonstrating its growing popularity in rural areas. But Mugabe's long reign over Zimbabwe came to an abrupt end in 2017, not through democratic means, but through a military coup. The catalyst for this dramatic shift was a power struggle within ZANU-PF, the ruling party. The then commander of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, Vice President Constantino Chiwenga, who had grown increasingly frustrated with Mugabe's perceived failure to address the economic woes and his attempts to install his wife Grace as his successor, launched a military operation. The military swiftly took control of the key institutions in Harare, effectively placing Mugabe under house arrest. This coup, however, was not simply a military takeover. It was orchestrated by a faction within ZANU-PF led by Emmerson Mnangagwa, who had been fired as vice president by Mugabe just 2 weeks prior. Mnangagwa, who had been a close confidant of Mugabe for decades, had fallen out of favor with the aging president and was seen as a threat to Grace Mugabe's ambitions. Following the coup, Mnangagwa returned to the Zimbabwe from South Africa, where he had been in exile, and was quickly installed as the new leader of both ZANU-PF and the country. This dramatic turn of events marked the end of an era in Zimbabwe. While many celebrated the end of Mugabe's era, the coup raised concerns about the future of democracy in Zimbabwe. Ndonyakabuditswa mai Zimbabwe tinazoti munasi nyaya iyi yabuditswa navosve Ncube abuda achichema pana wecorruption iri muno muZimbabwe, achitaura iye achiti Mugabe's era inga iri better than yava Mnangagwa. Achitaura iye achiti Mnangagwa is practicing corruption zviri pachena ende asi kunyara kana kuwanda nazvo muri Zimbabwe. Tingaziva kuti munoona sei nyaya iyi. Tiudzewo zvamuri kufunga pamusoro penyaya iyi mucomment section.
This young man who was talking here, Mohadi, he says he wants to be like me. I said a few things he can do. When I was young, at the age of 19, I was sentenced to death. That has not happened to him. He must go through that first. I survived because I was underage. But he won't survive because he's above age, so he'll get hanged. I took poison and remained unconscious for 3 days. I said he must do the same and see whether he will survive. But he is looking for the easier things only. So Mohadi, those are the challenges. If you want to be president, take poison first. And then survive after 3 days. Also jump the border to South Africa, as I did.